Good Thursday morning. It's December 4th. I'm meteorologist Craig Moeller, and you found me here at the weather desk where we cover today's top weather headlines. And we got a lot to talk about today because there is some impending winter weather coming towards Hampton Roads in the mid-Atlantic. Let's jump into our headlines. Again, we are setting up, folks, getting ready to deal with some snow and some mixed precipitation across parts of southeast Virginia and northern North Carolina. We're going to be looking for this to come through early Friday. We'll talk a lot about that and the fact that we have a weather impact alert for early Friday. In addition, we've caught up with the Virginia Department of Transportation, VDOT, as they are prepping for messy roads. It's something they try to get out ahead of. We'll talk to them about what they've been doing with the storm system bearing down on the area for tomorrow. In addition, we have important winter safety tips. And again, we're getting into that time of year. We've already had cooler than normal months back in August, September, October. November was kind of up and down a little bit, closer to normal. But so far, December's been really cold, and that's got everybody thinking, hey, how am I going to stay warm? What am I going to do? You know, there's some important things about navigating these cold months ahead that we're going to bring up. So we'll have more on that. We're also going to talk December climatology for Norfolk and here in the mid-Atlantic. I can tell you what we're going to see over the next couple of weeks. It's got to be cold. We're going to look, is there any end in sight to the colder than normal temperatures? We'll talk about that. And the last supermoon of 2025 takes place tonight. Talk about viewing for that as well. So a lot to cover in today's edition of the Weather Desk. We are going to start off with a look at our weather impact alert. And this is for Friday morning. So what we're going to see, snow and ice moving into the area, some mixing inland. It's going to be more rain closer to the coast. And folks are really going to need to monitor travel issues. I think some of the roads, especially farther inland, secondary roads, some of the elevated roadways, some of the bridges and overpasses may get a little touchy out there. Now, the Virginia Department of Transportation is already pre-treating some of the roads ahead of this for tomorrow, and Derek Lytle shows us more.
Done some test routes, run their routes to make sure they know where they need to go and where they need to be covering as far as when the event happens. So they're ready to go, and we're ready.
Kelly believes with a relatively dry Thursday expected before the storm, their crews will get a leg up on pre-treating.
Crews are going to be out pre-treating as far as on the interstates on the peninsula, and also in our Williamsburg and Franklin residencies are going to be pre-treating the major primary roadways that VDOT maintains in those areas.
He says they use a salt brine on roads to create an ahead-of-time protection barrier.
To help some of that potential snow and maybe some ice bond to the roadway, so kind of keeping that off of there and making things drivable for everybody to get through.
Kelly says there are certain areas drivers should look out for more than others.
You have your overpasses, your ramps, your shaded areas. Those areas are areas that potentially could freeze. Again, you don't have ground underneath there.
He urges drivers to share the road and be patient with their crews as they work to create safe future driving conditions.
Big vehicles that are out there doing the pre-treatment. So what we ask motorists to do is be aware that they're there, realize they're going to be driving slower than probably what the normal speed is, because again, so as always, give yourself enough stopping distance, give yourself enough distance between you and the other motorists around you.
All right, so which areas are most likely to be more heavily impacted by the wintry weather? Well, there is a winter weather advisory in place for Friday, and this includes some of the western parts of the 13 News Now viewing area, talking about Southampton, Sussex, Surrey, up to James City County, very close here to Williamsburg, areas up for the northern neck and the middle peninsula for the inland areas. You'll note Gloucester and Matthews, these areas closer to the bay, not included in the winter weather advisory, but the areas just out to the west of that are. Certainly, I-95 will get a lot of attention from the Virginia Department of Transportation, as will I-85. So these areas, they're going to need to get out ahead of them. Now, the one thing that you just heard that gentleman share with us is that the conditions are dry leading up to this. So the pre-treatment that they put down, whether they use a brine or some places use beet juice, other different things to help keep the roads from freezing over, the fact that we're not seeing rain out ahead of this is a good thing. This is one of those cases where when this begins overnight, late tonight and early tomorrow morning, initially what falls out to the west will be mainly snow. So those areas that are treated, when you get a heavy rain before, it tends to wash that treatment off, and it's much, much less effective. In this case, hopefully those treatments will be very effective, but it'll be some of the secondary roads out in those locations that we are going to be watching very, very closely. Now, as we look at the satellite and the radar images here today, we've got some clouds drifting through, some high, thin clouds. Clouds are actually going to increase, but the moisture that is going to come in, we've got a couple areas. We've got this area of rain down along the Gulf Coast from East Texas back over across southern Louisiana, southern Mississippi, and Alabama. This is streaming to the east-northeast. And then we've got another area here, a frontal boundary, that is also picking up some moisture. All of this is going to stream towards Hampton Roads as this moves along. So the moisture's coming. We also have another push of cooler air with that cold air seeping down from the north and the northwest. That combination will likely produce those wintry conditions early tomorrow. So let's take a look at how this is going to play out. And we take a look here again, that rain down to the south set to come through. And then by early tomorrow, and I'd say 4:30, 5 o'clock, we're going to see snow pretty widespread out to the west. By 6 o'clock, it's possible we're going to be seeing snow from southern portions of Maryland, obviously the eastern shore, northern Virginia, and then back out across western parts of the Commonwealth. Rain for southern parts of North Carolina, but you get that transition, that mixing around Raleigh. Again, this is 6 a.m. and snow across the northern tier of North Carolina. Keep in mind, this area also under that winter weather advisory. As we go past 7 and towards 8 o'clock, a trend that you're going to notice here is that warmer air is going to come in off the ocean, and we're going to see that rain-snow line start pushing more to the west-northwest. So eventually, it's going to be mainly a cold rain for most of us. And even if you do get some accumulation, say 6 o'clock or so up on the peninsula, maybe 7:30. Eventually, as that warmer air works up the peninsula, you're going to see the transition to rain that's going to wash out whatever does start to maybe stick on some of those elevated surfaces on the peninsula. The snow continues kind of hit and miss, scattered later in the morning, and then by noon, still some rain showers, the last of the snow kind of pulling away, and we should see improvements coming up after that. I do want to make everybody aware, again, this is coming in. The models have been lining up on this and really showing more and more support for this scenario. And we want to remind folks, again, there are resources available in Hampton Roads. If you know someone that maybe doesn't have a place to stay, there are resources available in Hampton Roads. The city of Virginia Beach is teaming up with local organizations to make sure people experiencing homelessness have a warm place to stay during these colder winter months and certainly winter events. For the next 16 weeks, single adults can check in each day at a variety of overnight shelters for 2 free meals and a place to sleep. Dallas Stamper with Penn Ministry says this kind of program can save lives.
You think about last year with the snow. I mean, we had 2 churches that we had to open up to get everybody in out of the weather.
Now, keep in mind, spots at the shelters are not guaranteed due to limited space. You can find out more information about the program on 13newsnow.com. Just search the word shelter. All right, we're going to talk a little bit more about this as we consider the winter safety tips. It's not just Hampton Roads dealing with the winter weather. More than half of the U.S. population is waking up to below freezing temperatures. We're talking 20 to 30 degrees below average in some locations, both this morning and again tomorrow. The dropping temperatures aren't only uncomfortable, they can also be very dangerous. In fact, deadly. According to the American Red Cross, in 2023, more than 1,000 deaths in the United States were caused by excessive cold or hypothermia. If you have to go out in extremely cold temperatures, dress appropriately. And inside, if you're going to use a heater or fireplace, keep anything that could catch fire at least 3 feet away from the heat source. That is so important. And to prevent carbon monoxide poisoning, do not use an oven to warm your home and only use generators that are set up outdoors.
This past year, the Red Cross has responded to more than 48,000 home fires. And this time of year in particular, a lot of that is caused because people are just trying to stay warm.
This past year, you can see again more than 48,000 home fires. It's just incredible. This time of year, you're going to find these type of situations coming up. You see the different signs of hypothermia there: shivering, exhaustion, confusion, fumbling hands, memory loss, slurred speech, drowsiness, and then signs of frostbite. All right, we're going to turn our attention back to the Midwest. We're going to take you out to Iowa now. The Hawkeye State is digging out from a snowstorm. This is a look at some of the conditions on the roads earlier this week. These images were captured by cameras mounted on snowplows. The Iowa Department of Transportation is now reminding drivers to stay alert and slow down when driving in the snow, after 8 of those snowplows were hit by cars trying to clear the roads. That's a look at one of the cars that got damaged in Sioux County. That is in the northwestern part of the state. Fortunately, no one has been hurt. Remember, snowplows only travel around 10 to 35 miles per hour, and they kick up a cloud of snow as they move. Boy, it is a mess. All right. Well, we're going to turn our attention from the United States overseas, because the United States isn't the only country getting hit with snow right now. You can see Japan here. It's northern Japan that we want to speak about specifically, because snow is blanketing that part of the country. This is a look at conditions just south of the island of Hokkaido. Some areas got more than 5 inches, forcing airlines to cancel flights due to the snow, and there were strong winds as well. So again, the snow not unique to the United States, but we've certainly been seeing more and more of it. We're going to take a short break, just 2 minutes, and when we come back, we're going to talk about this chilly start to December, what we typically expect in December here in Hampton Roads, and we're going to look ahead. Is there any break from the colder weather upcoming? Well, we're going to look out over a couple of weeks. And then the last supermoon of 2025, how you can see it and what we can expect heading into the weekend, and an even closer look at this impending snowstorm and the forecast for snow amounts across Hampton Roads. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Weather Desk. I'm meteorologist Craig Moeller. Here we are now, the 4th day of December, and it has been a cold start to the month. You take a look. We had one day that was just 1 degree above average, but we were in the 40s on Monday. We were in the low 40s yesterday, and we're going to be in the upper 40s again. So far, it's only been to 38 degrees, but of course, we will be getting a little warmer later today here in Hampton Roads. But generally, temperatures have been below normal. So what kind of temperatures does Hampton Roads typically see this time of year? Meteorologist Hunter Force breaks down the numbers for us.
December has brought some extremes over the years. The hottest December day on record reached 82 degrees. You could have went to the beach, had your swim trunks ready, while the coldest dipped all the way down to 5 degrees. We've also seen our share of big weather events. The wettest December brought over 7.5 inches of rain back in 2009, and the snowiest day delivered 17.5 inches all the way back in 1892 on December 27th, just missing a white Christmas. To start the month, December 1st averages around 58 degrees for the high and 41 for the low. But temperatures trend cooler as we move deeper into the month. By December 31st, our typical high drops to 52 degrees with lows around 35 degrees. But the best part of this month is the shift in sunrise and sunset times. On December 1st, the sun rises at 6:59 a.m. and sets at 4:48 p.m. By month's end, sunrise isn't until 7:17 a.m., but sunset finally starts to nudge later to 4:58. For 13 News Now, I'm meteorologist Hunter Forst.
All right, Hunter, thanks so much. How about the next 10 days? Remember, I said, we'll see if there's any real break from the colder weather in sight. Looking out forward over the next 10 days, what we're going to find, the temperature's actually staying pretty cool. The average high is 57 degrees. So you can see temperatures tomorrow, today, we're going to be in the upper 40s to low 50s, so we'll be below average today. Tomorrow, 44. Saturday, mid 40s, maybe closer to 50 on Sunday, and then another push of cool air Monday into Tuesday. Temperatures do bump up. We get closer to the average high, but there's no big significant warm up in sight. Hunter mentioned it had been up to 82 here in December in the past. Not right now. We are looking at temperatures staying in the 40s with some highs reaching the warmer days in the low 50s. So below average over the next 10 days. What about over the next 3-4 days after that? Looking out as we go 8 to 14 days. This takes us through December 18th. I'll just quickly show you the national picture because I do know a lot of folks tune in from other parts of the country. Basically, that 2-week outlook, drier than normal for New Mexico, Texas, parts of Oklahoma and Kansas. Wetter than normal across the northwest U.S., maybe some more snow over portions of the Rockies with that wetter forecast. Also wetter than normal for parts of the Northeast. Will probably be a little bit drier than normal here in the Mid-Atlantic and for the Southeast. Temperatures are what we're really looking at. And when we go out 8 to 14 days, you'll notice the Northeast U.S. still on the cool side of normal, so likely below average. Places up around Connecticut, Massachusetts, southern Vermont, and New Hampshire. Even the Big Apple likely to be a little bit below normal as we take you through the middle part of December. Out to the west, into the southwest, look at this Four Corners region above normal. See much of the western and southwest U.S. expected to be that way. So again, the teeter-totter with the colder air kind of dipping down into the east coast and that warmer surge all the way up to the Pacific Northwest. We'll continue to watch it, but that's the outlook. So to answer that question, is there a significant end in sight to the cooler weather? Not yet, not over the next 14 days. Now, beyond that, the 30-day outlook and the 90-day outlook does start to warm us up a little bit more. So eventually this pattern should break, but it is going to be cold, most likely through the middle part of December. All right, we also talked about that supermoon. You'll want to keep an eye to the sky tonight. There will be a few more clouds. We'll get into that. But if you do get lucky and you're in an area where there's still a few breaks in the clouds, the last supermoon of the year is set to make an appearance. The moon is expected to be at its fullest around 8:15 Eastern Time. This is the last of 3 back-to-back supermoons of the year. one right after the other. There was one in October, another one in November. A supermoon happens when the moon is at its nearest point to Earth, which makes it appear larger and fuller. And the December supermoon is also called the cold moon, which indicates it's the full moon event that's closest to the winter solstice. So the cold moon likely to be obscured by those clouds that we expect to roll in, but maybe you'll luck out and get a chance to peek at that supermoon. We've had a lot of fun with it, and a lot of viewers have taken pictures and submitted those images. We always love to hear from you when you're able to take those. All right, let's get back into the forecast and get into that detail you want to know about tomorrow. If you're here in Southeast Virginia, Central Virginia, northern parts of North Carolina, I got you covered right now. Let's take this full. I'm going to walk over to the big board so we can break all of this down. What we are looking at, again, a weather impact alert, wintry mix and snow inland. Friday morning, I think by early afternoon, the wet weather should be moving out, but mainly Friday morning through about midday, maybe a couple areas lingering just after that. Bottom line is some accumulation is expected with that wintry mix and snow farther inland, mainly on elevated surfaces. Now out towards I-95, a little bit better chance. And again, I'll show you the graph model so you can get a good look at what's going on with the snowfall projections. Taking a look at the futurecast, let me start by telling you we'll see the clouds increasing later this afternoon. As I mentioned, into the evening, a mix of clouds and a few breaks here and there, but the clouds are going to thicken up overnight and eventually see this snow creeping into the picture. Now, this is initially coming in from the west and southwest around 1:45, 2 o'clock. We might start getting reports of some light flurries up around Richmond. As we go past that towards 3, again, the leading edge, some of this may not quite make it down to the ground on the very leading edge, but these darker blues and purples kind of showing up in here, that is more intense snowfall. And eventually we will see the moisture reaching it down to the ground. So snow showers develop, especially as we go past 4:30 or so and into the morning. Looking towards the coast, it's going to be a little warmer. We've got the winds coming in off the ocean, keeping those coastal temperatures in the mid to upper 30s. So more likely we deal with a chilly rain early Friday morning near the coast. But there'll be chances for snow at Melfa, around West Point, Newport News, Franklin, at least mix with snow more likely out towards I-95. And this is going to be an area that sees a prolonged snow, and that's where we could see a couple of inches maybe developing. Rain will likely transition areas that are mixed or maybe some light snow initially. We'll see a change back over to rain. And this is at 7 o'clock where that rain snow line starts to push back up to the peninsula around Hampton and eventually up through Newport News and Poquoson up through York. And that trend will continue as we go late morning. So mainly a cold rain event. Again, some pockets of snow still hanging in through about midday, and then things do dry out later in the day and into the evening. Now, there could still be a few stray showers pushing through Hampton Roads, so we'll still mention that. But the temperatures will be in the low to mid 40s. As you are closer to the coast, it will be cooler inland heading into Friday evening. Looking ahead to Saturday, we are going to see drier conditions, so let's talk about the snowfall potential. And this is one model, the graph. You can see the graph does project 2 inches around Newport News, over an inch in Franklin, 2.5 inches in Wakefield, and 3.5 in Richmond. Now, a lot of times folks will say, well, I saw 2 inches on the map. And yeah, you do see that if you're in Newport News. But keep in mind, that's what the model's projecting will fall. All right. Some of this initially is going to melt on contact. So probably lighter amounts before that transition to rain, but some slushy accumulations very possible on the peninsula and even parts of the south side. There might be a little coating before that changeover. So minor amounts, but some snow potentially even around Norfolk, Suffolk, maybe out towards Western Branch and Chesapeake, and then back down through Franklin. The heavier amounts likely around Richmond and Petersburg, maybe 2 to 3 inches out in some of those areas. We're going to be watching. Could also see some minor accumulations up on the eastern shore, but it's looking like a rain event for Virginia Beach, most of Chesapeake and Norfolk, as well as Portsmouth. Little bit of mix at the start, but it should transition mainly to rain and rain for northeast North Carolina. This could change. That's why it's so important you continue to check back with us. Now, couple days ago, we mentioned there was this chance, but I called a weather impact alert because yesterday morning, when I was looking at some of the extended models and the global models here, we're getting more information from some of our high-res models as well. They all were pointing to this likelihood of snow. Before this, there were some that were just all rain or maybe holding off the precip altogether, while one of them was hinting at snow. Now these models are coming into alignment. This is the global forecast system, the U.S. model, and that's the European model, two of our global outlooks there. So just wanted to share with you, confidence is increasing. Temperatures today, upper 40s to low 50s. We will see increasing clouds, close to 50 on the peninsula, upper 40s for the middle peninsula, and mid to upper 40s on the eastern shore. Outer Banks, low 50s. We'll see low to mid 50s inland, and overnight tonight, lows near 34, a little cooler inland. All right, that snow and mix moves in pre-sunrise tomorrow. It's going to be with us in the morning. Mainly rain at the coast, some travel impacts. That's why we have a weather impact alert, and we're going to continue to watch that. Over the coming weekend, a little bit warmer Saturday into Sunday, and a low risk of a shower on Monday. I do want to mention one thing going on Saturday night, the lighted boat parade. You can see maybe some clouds across the area. I expect it to be variably to mostly cloudy, but temperatures in the low to mid 40s, and then cooling just a couple degrees as the evening wears on. I'm going to be out there for the lighted boat parade, and I'm going to be emceeing the viewing party at Chick's Oyster Bar. This is a fundraiser for VB Rescue, and it is a great time. Again, at Chick's Oyster Bar, 13 News Now is a proud sponsor, and I hope to see you out there. Money's raised supporting Virginia Beach Rescue. Remember, you can always get the latest news, traffic, and weather on the go with the 13 News Now app. Scan the QR code, and you'll have access to our forecast updates and any special weather coverage that we offer there. We also stream it over the app, so you definitely want to do that with the impending winter weather for parts of the region. That's going to do it for this edition of the Weather Desk. Thanks so much for spending the last half hour with us. We'll see you again next time.